Hey travelers, today we are talking about what happens if you are traveling right now and the borders of the country you are visiting decide to close. What can you do? Will you be able to get home? So there's been a few things in the news over the last few days that have really begun to make people ask this question of, what happens if a lockdown does happen and the borders are closed? First off, there's been quite a few flights that have either come across Canada or into Canada where there's been people who've been found positive with COVID. And then there's been spreading that's occurred as well. The numbers are continuing to rise in Mexico and the Dominican, two hotspots in the sun, where a lot of people decide to go for sun all-inclusive vacations. And the Bahamas, just over the weekend, shockingly announced that they were closing their borders. And I say shockingly because it was out of the blue. It may not have been a big surprise to people. But there was not a lot of notice about this, and what they've basically said is previously the everybody was allowed to go to the Bahamas for tourism purposes, and they've actually changed that, and they've gone backwards on it and said now, as of Wednesday, July the 22nd, Americans will no longer be allowed to enter the Bahamas on commercial vehicles for tourism. And those who are there must leave or they will not be able to get back home. So of course, a lot of Canadians are wondering where this would leave them. We don't have a lot of flights happening right now, but I mean, our weather is great right now in the summertime. Come the winter months, there will be a lot more people who will take the plunge and they will consider traveling. Obviously, number one consideration you want to do before you do anything is try to get emergency medical coverage that includes coverage for COVID-related illness. I know Medipac is the only company that I've come across that says that they will cover it, but you need to read the fine print. I haven't read it yet, and it can change on a regular basis. We've seen quite a few insurers who have made one stance about their coverage and then pulled back on it, made changes, tried to do them retroactively. So just be cautious of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, although you may be able to get flights back, you might have to do a different route or you might have to book an alternate flight. So if you're going to travel, you really should have a reserve of funds for that possible necessity. And really, if you're going to travel these days, travel is something that you really have to sit and think about, and that's something that when people have asked me for quotes, I've always given them all the considerations, and I've done previous videos on this. But the biggest question people have is if they take a flight down to, well, let's say they take a flight down to the Bahamas, and next weekend the Bahamian government says they are going to close the borders to everybody. What happens? Well, officials from Air Canada have come forward and said that as they did in March, they will repatriate you back to Canada. So the good news is they're not going to leave you hanging. They are going to do everything they can to get you home. But bear in mind, depending on how many people are down there, depending on how many flights they can get down there, they may or may not be able to do that quickly and efficiently. So again, that reserve of funds should be there in case you either need to seek an alternate means to get home, in case you need accommodation, paying for food, any of that kind of stuff. So a few different things to consider, but the good news is, at least at this point in time, and things are changing on a daily basis here, that the airlines will repatriate you back to Canada. So that part of things is good news. But like I say, lots of other things to consider if you are going to travel these days. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're trying to give you as much information as we can as things unfold. And like I say, they are changing just on a daily basis. So even if you're watching a past video, if you're watching this video in a week's time, just remember that things may have changed. And if you have any questions, please post them below. I do try to answer all my comments and questions. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos and other informational updates. Thanks and stay safe, everyone.